If you want to start watching anime, your first obstacle is sheer volume. You are instantly hit with a wall of thousands of shows, movies, and spin-offs, making it nearly impossible for a beginner to know exactly where to click first. Confusion often starts when people treat anime like a single genre. In reality, it is a vast medium containing everything from sports dramas to psychological thrillers, all carrying completely different pacing and time requirements. When beginners ask for a recommendation, they usually get pointed toward the 5 most financially and culturally successful properties on Earth: Pokemon, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Demon Slayer, and Attack on Titan. Handing someone that list without context is a trap. Starting a 1,000-episode series or a slow 90s classic often causes immediate viewer burnout. This graph shows the real calculation you have to make. Every show forces a trade-off between the time investment it demands and the immediate gratification it delivers back. The search for a first show ends when its specific demands match your actual free time and your threshold for complex storytelling. We can start with the modern spectacle category. Demon Slayer is one of the easiest entry points available today because the barrier to entry is low. The story is linear, easy to follow, and relatively short. In exchange for your time, the show delivers massive visual payoff right away. High-budget animation studios prioritize cinematic fight choreography, which directly translated into record-breaking, historic box office numbers. The trade-off is the narrative depth. The writing relies heavily on straightforward good versus evil tropes. If you are looking for moral ambiguity or complex character studies, you will likely find this too thin. That brings us to the mature thriller category. Attack on Titan targets an entirely different demographic by focusing heavily on political intrigue, military strategy, and high-stakes violence. The payoff here is the story. It dismantles the assumption that animated shows are meant for children by offering a gripping, deeply layered narrative that constantly shifts allegiances and keeps you guessing. But the cost is mental energy. The themes of survival and betrayal make it emotionally draining. It is a demanding watch that requires focused attention, rather than a show you put on to relax. Both of these modern hits offer quick hooks that grab your attention immediately. Your choice is simply between accessible visual popcorn or a demanding prestige-level drama. Then we have the ultimate epic. One Piece sits at the absolute furthest extreme of the time commitment spectrum. This chart puts that barrier into perspective. You are looking at well over 1,000 episodes. The early story arcs move slowly, and the show asks for hundreds of hours of your time before reaching its narrative peaks. The viewers who stick around do it for the world building. Because the author has had decades to flesh out the universe, the story rewards long-term patience with interconnected plots and character arcs that rival massive fantasy novels. But deciding to watch it is a literal lifestyle choice. If you commit to catching up, One Piece will monopolize your free time for months or, realistically, years. It is the ultimate test of delayed gratification. It only makes sense for viewers willing to treat it like a massive, multi-year project. Finally, we have to look at the foundational pillars of the medium: Dragon Ball and Pokemon. These properties permeated global culture long before anime was mainstream. You don't have to watch a single episode to recognize a Pikachu balloon dominating a major city street during holiday parades. The character designs of Dragon Ball have similarly become globally recognized pop culture icons, visible to millions of people who have never actually watched the series. But historical importance doesn't erase the barrier to entry for a modern adult. Both shows rely on dated 90s animation, highly repetitive episodic formulas, and pacing that feels painfully slow by today's standards. Watching them does grant you total fluency in the foundational language of the genre. You will instantly understand the origins of countless tropes and memes used in modern entertainment. Without the lens of childhood nostalgia, these shows act more like historical textbooks. They provide valuable cultural context, but they can be tedious for a modern beginner seeking immediate entertainment. You should never try to watch all 5 of these shows simultaneously. The goal is to pick the single property that naturally fits your current viewing habits. This matrix maps these trees clearly based on your lifestyle bandwidth and thematic preferences. For a time-poor aesthete wanting immediate visual payoff without losing their entire year, Demon Slayer is the ideal choice. For a mature story seeker looking for high-stakes and prestige TV-level writing, Attack on Titan is the correct path. If you are a patient world builder seeking a deep, multi-year relationship with a story, One Piece remains the target. For the pop culture completist, Dragon Ball and Pokémon serve as cultural context. You can dip into them to understand the history and move on once you get the gist. The best anime is entirely a matter of perspective. Choosing the right entry point for your specific media diet transforms a daunting 1,000-hour mountain into an accessible, personalized front door.